Dice are rolling, darkness falls. Inside the GM Studios halls. Tabletop games where nightmares creep. In a realm where sanity is lost and weak. Welcome to the abyss where dreams shatter. Inside the GM studio, nothing else matters. Blood and chaos, the dark arts unfold. In the realm of role-playing, where legends are told.
Welcome.
What?
Welcome back, you sexy internet. Okay, I couldn't hear myself for a second. Sorry. Anyway, welcome back to the side question episode of Inside the GM Studio, where we field questions from the internet on the roll of a die. I am your host, David.
I'm Matt.
So here we're gonna go do the roll, and I get a 7.
You know what? I didn't have the list up. Let me pull this list up real quick. There we go. All right, 7.
7.
7.
I think maybe it's like normally I can hear myself in my headphones, but
Yeah.
maybe I can't hear myself today.
Yeah, I think if it's not plugged in directly into the microphone, you're not going to be able to hear yourself.
Ah, okay. Well, I got to get used to that then.
Yeah. All right. Oh, this is one of the newer ones. This was posted only 3 days ago. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a new one that I put in.
Oh, nice.
This one comes from RS Game Masters by Keybrains with the title, How to Clue the Party into a Future Hook Underdark Passage Without Sidetracking the Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running my version of B3, Palace of the Silver Princess, and I'm going to have a cave with a discoverable passage to the Underdark. Why? Because it logically explains how the baddies got in, and because a future module might want an access point to the Underdark. The problem, I don't want them to explore too far down. I mean, sure, they could, and I suppose I need contingency maps and plans for that, but it's not the story at all of what they're pursuing. I'm worried just having it will make them want to go down or even think they're supposed to. So my question is, how do I set this up, or at least allow it to be discovered without needing a whole backup Underdark adventure ready to go? Some super locked door, super scary abyss, some monster. I'd love to know how you've dealt with it, any similar situations, or if you have any advice.
Yeah, I suspect he's on the right path there. You just figure out a way to let them know that it is there, but that they can't get all the way down the passage yet. That could be a magical ward. That seems more logical to me than something that they would like let them know that they need to go elsewhere to get access. Like they have to.
Yeah, maybe
find...
it's the door only works one way here, so that the baddies on the other side from the Underdark could go through it, but you can't go through it through the tunnel down into the Underdark.
Yeah, maybe, but then that kind of, if this is supposed to be the access point that they're going to use at a later time, that doesn't really work, because then you go, okay, well, how do we can't get in from this way, so we have to figure out a way to, then why we put it there. But it would probably be something more like, maybe when the bad guys came through, they placed some sort of magic ward on it, that bars the PCs from going through, but allows them to kind of see down the tunnel, and that it leads into the Underdark, and just make them aware that, like, it probably subtextually, but maybe even overtly, if you wanted to be a little more on the nose about it, that the key, so to speak, is in the hands of some bad guy that they've yet to meet yet, or it's hidden in some tomb or library. You know, there's some book that has like the way to decipher the runes or to bypass the magic, or simply that it is just like that it's dispellable like you can dispel it, but you're just not at a level where you would be able to dispel magic this strong yet. And then presumably they kind of go throughout the rest of the adventure, keep it in their brain that's something that they can do when they get the next level of spell slots. You know, it's simply just choose whatever spell slot, like, you know, let them know like this is 5th level magic, and in order to get past it you have to cast a spell magic at 5th level or 6th level or 7th level or whatever it is. Then they will just remember to come back when they can do that. And if you set up the next adventure that is kind of ushering them down there, then that makes it easy enough. And so take cues from the Legend of Zelda. That usually is a pretty good way that they do it. Like, you can go explore pretty much most of the world. It's a sandbox world, but you can't get into Dungeon 4 until you get the item from Dungeon 3.
Yeah.
And so you know that it's there, and when you eventually go, like, you go, oh, okay, this is where the 4th dungeon is, and you can get back there pretty easily enough, but you just go like, oh, I can't get in because I don't have the Ether Medallion yet, right? And so if you do it that way, hey, quit eating that. Sorry, apparently the cat likes to eat succulents. If you set it up that way, then it should be easy enough for you just to make them aware that they need to get some bad guy, get some item, or something. That seems like the simplest path forward, without allowing them to just directly telling them that they're not meant to go down there yet. But yeah, stuff like, you know, even something like a large chasm that they can't traverse. The bad guys came across, and there was a bridge, and they, you know, rope bridge, and they sliced the rope bridge so that no one can go back across it. Then that would be a more creative solution. Like, okay, we can't get across because the rope bridge has been cut, but we know this chasm is here, and this is how the bad guys got in. Then it's not a specific thing, but it's a thing that, like, the party can't deal with right now.
Yeah, I was going to say your idea is a little bit better if there's like a ward that they actually have to get an item or something for. Because I was thinking, oh, sure, a cave-in or something that just blocks the door away. But it's a B3 module. I'm sure this is the one that I think Keep on the Borderlands was B2. So I'm guessing it's a mid-level adventure.
Yeah.
Your fighter or whoever your big strong guy is probably pretty strong. You can move a lot of the debris, or at least find ways to move it where there's more of like an arcane ward or something. You need either a ritual to go against it, or, you know, a spell, or at least an item. So I think your idea is a little bit better.
Yeah, but like something like a big chasm that once had a rope bridge and it's been cut, like the party knows, like, okay, if you wanted to encourage some kind of, you know, more like clever solutions, then you could do something like that. But as long as you make them realize that that they can contend with this, but they just don't have the time or the resources right now, right? You know, like clearing out rubble is a good example. You go, okay, yeah, you can lift the rocks, but even all 5 of you working, this is going to take like basically a solid day worth of manual labor. Like, that is going to be hard on you, especially not something you're likely to be able to endeavor to do in armor. So you'd have to take off your armor. You'd probably have to set up camp. You'd have to spend a full day doing this to see what's on the other side. And that is usually enough to get PCs to go, okay, well, maybe we'll come back to this at another time when we're not on a time crunch because of the events of the dungeon or whatever. Same thing with like a cut rope bridge. Like, okay, we could get across this, but we'd need to kind of maybe get some sort of you come up with some clever solution that's going to require some equipment that we don't have, maybe rock climbing equipment or something that would allow you to get across, but you don't have access to it now. It's not something specific, like I was saying, you need like a very specific thing, but just it's not something that you brought with you because you weren't expecting to have to go mountaineering when you were in the middle of a dungeon, but they'll remember it later and come back, especially if you communicate in some way that it's likely to be relevant in the future. Don't just have them subtextually think that it's not a place they can go, and so it's not a place they should go. then they're likely just to forget about it. Keep it as an unresolved task that is either one, you need a specific thing, two, you need some things that you just don't simply have right now. Like digging a ditch is a good example. Players always want like, I dig a hole. It's like, dude, with what? Like you don't have a fucking shovel with you, right? You don't have a spade. Oh, I dig a hole with okay, great. If you're on a beach, you can dig a hole with a shield. And you probably could even dig a hole in the ground with a shield, but like you're talking about wanting to dig like 5 graves for people. Like without you have any idea how, and you're in armor and you have like a sure you have a kite shield, but you have any idea how fast you would get exhausted? There's a reason that people use shovels to dig holes, right? Like it is like the most ergonomic and easy way to dig a fucking hole. So yeah, if you make them aware of that, then I think they're likely to circle back and come up with some creative solutions.
Yeah. Have you ever come up with this before or come across this? Because I certainly have, and I have not been ready. Probably out of the handful of times that I've done this, I have not been ready if they did decide to go down, and had to come up with some stupid reason without where I pretty much just told them like, no, you're not going that way. One of you thinks it's a bad idea, or something like that, because
Well,
I was not prepared for it.
I try hard to avoid introducing elements into any adventure that shouldn't be contended with during the scope of that plot.
Hmm.
I might do something that's a seed for a previous adventure or a following adventure, but usually that'll be something that just kind of foreshadows. Like the characters will have a feeling like, I feel like this item's going to be important later, but you give them an item and it doesn't have importance now, but then they have a feeling or a sense that it might have importance down the road. That's not the same thing as incorporating something that the party is capable of contending with that is outside the scope of the plot. I try really hard not to do that, but generally the way to handle it, if you were to do it, I think is just to make the PCs aware that the scope is that there are practical considerations. Like I said, you're going to spend a whole day, or you could simply just go like, look, the tunnel winds down as far as your light can see, and like you get the impression that it winds down, and so that this journey to the Underdark is going to be like an 8-hour trek through these tunnels. Generally speaking, when you solidify an adventure and its pacing, if you've done a good job of that, the PCs will think in a certain time frame. They'll think in minutes, hours, days. And if you put something outside the scope of that pacing, you're in a dungeon and it's like, you know, they traveled to the dungeon within a couple of hours and they're planning on likely getting back to town or wherever it is they go the next day. Then you've anchored in their mind like what the time frame is. They're in the dungeon, they're moving through rooms, and it's on a minutes scale, right? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then suddenly you put something that's like an hours block, you know, a block of hours, big block of hours, 10, 12 hours or something, when they've navigated most of the dungeon up to this point in like 1 hour, and you go like, well, just to get from this point to that point is like putting distance between the increments, right? You do this when you do travel montages, or you try to anchor in the PC's minds that certain things are beyond the scope. Like if you have a ticking clock scenario or where time is of the essence, and the party's like, oh well, we'll just go over here and get help, and you're like, that's a 3-day travel, right? Like it's a 3-day travel here, and then another 2-day travel back to here, and then like you're talking about a week's long journey, and the bad guys are going to attack in 2 days, right? Like you don't have time to do that, and so you can typically do that on a variety of fronts, especially because things that are interesting or things that call out to the party to investigate, to let's just say pick at them in some way, they tend to be interesting, right? You come into a room and it's got some feature or whatever, and but if you come into a room that's more or less just like a stark, barren room, you're likely just to kind of move right through it unless you have some instincts that there's something hidden from plain view. A long, empty tunnel into darkness is not interesting.
Mm,
It foreshadows and um, I guess intriguing, but if you make the PCs aware that it's just like here's what you're in for is just walking down a dark, desolate tunnel in one direction for several hours, relighting torches every now and again, they're like, okay, we're probably not meant to go down there yet because there's nothing that would logically interest us. When our attention is focused on here in this dungeon, psychologically, you're communicating that pursuing a certain thread distances them from the thing that they're already engaged in. And whether they're aware of it or not, I think most PCs would probably kind of prioritize things in that way because you put yourself in the head of an adventurer, you're contending with a particular thing, and something that distances you from that just seems like arbitrary, right?
mm,
You're like, why would we be doing this? And so I don't I've never had PCs that were kind of dead set on like exploring something that just seemed um so disconnected from the task at hand. So
right. Let's see some of the comments here. Pomegranate expert says you could have them hear a rumor about such a passage, but without revealing where it is. Then,
hmm
when you're ready for them to find it, say when they've just wrapped up a different quest line, you can drop another hint about where they might find it. I have learned to my cost never to show the players a door unless you're prepared for them to go through it. I had my
yeah,
players fight a giant snake that had slithered out from a stone hatch in a floor, and they defeated the snake and asked about the hatch. And in a rookie mistake, I let slip that I hadn't really thought about what might be down there. So they spent the rest of the session trying to get it open to force me to think of something.
it's
Ugh, ugh.
another nice tactic might be to, without revealing the door or the entryway or whatever, make the PCs get information later that recontextualizes that it was an entry point,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe it just seems seemingly banal, but then they get information after the adventure where it'll click in their head like, oh, like like it might just be something confusing or whatever. It might just seem like texture, but you go like, oh, it's like where have I seen that pattern before, right? And you go like, oh, like you could do a knowledge check, or maybe they'll just remember, and like they learn later that this weird pattern is actually like some sort of knob or gear or lever or something, and so they go, oh shit, like is that what that was? Like, oh yeah, it's passages to the Underdark or like marked this way. I'm thinking of you ever see the movie Suspiria?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So remember in Suspiria, there's this room that has like these paintings of like flowers on the wall, and the character goes into that room at several points in the narrative, and then later, like one of the characters, or actually it's the other way around. One of the characters like whispers something about like the flower being the key, and it seems really cryptic, and she doesn't know what it means until she comes to that room, and she goes like, "Oh, right, like." There's these flowers, and so, or you could work it the other way. She sees the flower thing on the wall, and then later gets information, and then goes back to the flower thing to realize that, like, if you turn it, it opens a secret passage, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is probably a good way to do it too, if you don't want to have them go hunting all over for a particular person, item, bit of lore, or whatever, to actually unlock the thing, as the arcane ward thing suggested. But this would add a little bit more mystery if you give them an aha moment in the follow-up adventure that communicates very clearly that passages from the Underdark are, often cloaked in a certain way, like this, and if you drew attention to it when they were in the dungeon, then it should click in their head and send them back there. All they have now is more knowledge. They don't actually need a key. They don't actually need to go on some fetch quest to get a person, to kill a bad guy, to find an arcane sigil combination or whatever trope you would be using. They just have more knowledge now, and now they know where to look, and so they go back and they find it. That
Yeah.
could work just as well.
Yeah. One more comment that was left here. Astral Marmot says, at the end of their current mission, have them find a complete map of the dungeon with all the secret doors marked. If you're okay with them immediately deciding to find it, of course. If you want to give yourself some buffer, a journal left behind by a dead adventurer who preceded them could describe a passage to the Underdark they heard about but haven't been able to find, and that specific person in town can maybe help them. That way, finding the passage becomes a quest in itself they can pursue if they want. I agree with the other comments saying not to put a door in front of your players unless you're ready for them to open it. That seems to be like my thought too. I'm gonna take this to heart for myself. Is don't put a door in front of the players that you don't expect them to go through.
Yeah.
I like the journal idea. I don't know about the map because that could work. At least like entrances, secret entrances, I would say, instead of all secret doors.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would caution that I wouldn't say the last thing, but something you don't want to do is start off an adventure with a relatively mundane thing like trying to discover a door, right? So this is why it works better like synergistically to give them an aha moment or a clear goal to kind of get past. I need to get this, arcane sigil. I need to come back with mountaineering gear. I need to have time in order to then they have like a clear goal. But if you just start an adventure with them having to do a bunch of like really routine like I don't like adventures that start with like they're like a black box, right? Like you don't know what you're doing. Like you're just trying to there's enough space in an adventure for mystery. But at the very least, the characters should have a clear goal ahead of them and a clear path to that goal. So as long as you're avoiding having like some really just kind of low energy routine start to an adventure, yeah, you could do it that way, but I would just caution against that because adventures should build on the previous adventure, which should have been like, oh, you should have left off with some mystery or raising the stakes or some sort of cliffhanger, and then the next adventure should start with energy, not like have a big culmination where you fight a big bad and kill them off and like there's all this victory and glory, and then you start the next adventure with like now you got to find a secret door. It's like I just don't think that really pops as much,
Yeah, I agree.
But if they get some information at the start of the adventure, or that just recontextualizes that, and then they can hurry back to that area with a sense of purpose and kind of get through it and get on with the adventure, then that's great. Or if they just have new information and something clicks, then you could even end the adventure with them that reveal of like something clicking. It depends on whether the adventure in this location ends, and then the goal is to get them to explore the secret passage like right after that, like right, or there's not going to be any downtime, or they don't have to go like to another location and return here. They're just segueing from complete this dungeon crawl and then take the secret passage to the Underdark for the next adventure. Then just have something at the very end of the adventure, link it so that whatever, or really easily just make sure that the last room that the PCs have access to has some way of revealing that door or unlocking it or whatever. That's simple enough. You can just design your dungeon that way, so that they quite literally just can't go through it until they complete the dungeon or whatever. But so timing kind of matters here, like whether they're returning to this locale after like the start of the next adventure. If they're just segueing right into it, that's much easier.
All right. Well, you got anything to end on there, David, after all that?
No, I think we kind of covered the bases there.
Yeah, that was a pretty simple one, actually. I think we'll just leave it at that with a good night.
And good luck.